Yo guys, my name is Key and I want to be the very best that I can be. And today we are here with week 12 of the playoff push for the WBE. So today is going to be a bit of a shorter video because there is actually not a lot of movement that is going on within the Shield division. First of all, I would like to say a major congratulations to Joey and his Bronx Beartics who have locked up the first seed for the Sword division. As it stands, Joey is 12-0 with a differential of 44, so no matter what happens in his last game, he is guaranteed to make it as the first seed. There has been a bit of a change. In second place, we now actually have Wolfie at 9-3 with a differential of 26, and in third place, because he lost to Wolfie, is Dan, who is also 9-3 with a differential of 23. As it stands, Wolfie is in charge of his own fates here. The only way that Dan can overtake him is if Wolfie loses and Dan also wins. So Dan actually, even if he wins and Wolfie wins, he will not make it because it turns out in the playoffs that head-to-head takes preference over differential. This means that Dan's fate in the WBE for looking at that second seed rests in the fate of Wolfie and also him winning. So I think it's actually very likely that Wolfie does finish off in second. Another very interesting thing is John, who is currently sitting in 4th at 9-3 with a differential of 13, also has a chance to overtake Dan into the 3rd spot. Dan could fall as much as to 4th when he was, fighting for number 1 for this whole season. And this is because John actually won his game against Dan, therefore the head-to-head goes to John if they end up tying with scores. This makes it quite scary for Dan, and it means that he's really going to have to win his next battle and hope that John loses in order to actually keep that seed that he has. I know this is a little bit confusing. I know that on the Draft League website for the WBE that it's actually listed by differential and not by head-to-head. I don't know if that's been fixed at this moment, but hopefully it does get fixed soon because the playoff picture is actually looking a little bit different than it should be. I think the actual order of the players should be Joey in number 1, Wolfie in number 2, John in number 3, and Dan at number 4. I would also like to say a big congratulations to the other teams that have been locked in for playoffs. I'm pretty sure that In Vivid Color and the South Texas Sableyes at 7-5 and 21 have been locked into the playoff. And also the New York Marauders at this point should be making the playoffs. Even though he's currently sitting in a lower spot than Padders and the Newcastle Nido Kings, the New York Marauders have actually done enough, I think, in the head-to-heads to actually make it in. And also a big factor is that Padders is actually playing Duncan in the last week, so they're going to knock each other out. Our stats guy did actually say that the winner against Padders and Duncan will take the last spot, whether it be in 6th or whether it be in 7th of the playoffs, and the other one will miss out. So there is only really one battle that I do want to look at today, and that is going to be that battle. Alright, so we've got Padders with his Delphox, Excavalier, Alolan Executor, Mega Gyarados, Hippowdon, Snorlax, Tapu Koko, Terrakion, Venomoth, and Xatu, going against Duncan's Araquanid, Blacephalon, Ferroseed, Hitmontop, Jirachi, Lurantis, Sableye, Mega Tyranitar, Xurkitree, and Zygarde 10%. I think that these teams are actually quite balanced, at least based on the speed tiers. I know that a lot of teams focus on having really diverse speed tiers, but what I've noticed about these two teams is Padders has his Tapu Koko and his Terrakion, and they're the fastest ones on his team. And then on Duncan's side, he's got his Blacephalon and his Zygarde 10%. And other than that, the teams actually aren't as fast as they, could be. Not many of them breaking 100 after that. Jirachi, I know, is one that could as well. But other than that, these teams aren't very slow. And also Mega Gyarados can set up with Dragon Dance. But other than this, the base speed of this team is actually, both of these teams is actually quite low. What's also is really interesting is both of these teams have immense access to hazards and hazard removal. There's 3 hazard removal people on Padders teams, and also the same with Duncan. It's crazy the amount of things that can happen. What is really interesting is that while Duncan has so many things that can set up rocks, is that actually if Xatu comes, it has the ability Magic Bounce, which can bounce those right back, which I think would be a really interesting bring for Padders because it doesn't have actually the worst matchup in this game. I know Sableye's on the other team, but Sableye doesn't really do a bunch of damage. Though I think it could be really interesting if Xatu was brought, because that would be a little bit playing mind games with the setup on each side of the field. I definitely think this is going to be a game of who can outlast the other one. They're both quite slow. They both have quite bulky teams. Both of them can be run quite bulky in all of their mons. So I think it's just going to be who preserves their mons and leaves them for the later game a lot better, because I don't think this is going to be a game where speed tiers are going to be really the most important thing. I think Zygarde 10% can also be really scary if given the opportunity to set up as well. There's nothing on his team that doesn't really take the combination of 1,000 arrows or a Outrage really well. Also, the possibility of running Extreme Speed just to clean up kills for Duncan could be really important. On Patter's side, I think that one of the ways that Patters could definitely win this game is since it's going to be a bit of a war of attrition, maybe on the amount of setup you can get, he has actually Toxic Spikes with his Venomoth. And getting up Toxic Spikes would be really good against Duncan's team because he actually has no way to get rid of the Toxic Spikes. So setting up 2 layers of Spikes and Stealth Box will really start to whittle down a team that, relies on maybe being able to recover, like stuff like Ferroseed and stuff like Sableye, who rely on being able to recover off damage, will just be, harassed by this poison on the team. So I do think it's going to be an interesting battle. I actually do want to give this battle a little bit in favor of Patters because I just think that he has all of the answers to the things that Duncan can bring. Zygarde 10% obviously, takes a lot of damage from even ice-type moves, and you don't really want to give it the barrier because then it loses, like, a life orb to be able to really hit hard. Mega Gyarados, after setting up a Dragon Dance, is also just going to be such a tank. It's going to, go through his team. Like, there's not many things on Duncan's team that can take a stab move from the Mega Gyarados, barring maybe the Araquanid. So this is the only battle that really actually has any playoff implication, guys. That's really sad. I hoped that it would be a little bit closer, but yes, basically every position has been locked down. Again, I'll just go over it quickly. It's going to be Joey in number 1, Wolfie will probably hold number 2, John will be in number 3, and Dan at number 4, and the rest will shuffle maybe a little bit, but I don't think anyone can actually take over in Vivid Color either, so he's locked in that spot at number 5, and then just 6, 7, 8, it's just going to be the winner of Patty and Duncan being in the playoff, and they'll either be in 6 or 7, or and then also Mr. Talent, who has also secured his spot in the. So guys, thank you so much for watching the playoff push. I don't know if this series is actually going to be happening next week because all of the spots will be locked down, but I assume that week 13 should be happening, but into the playoff push, I think that's more of the opportunity of the pick'ems to decide and talk about the matches, but I do hope that we can come back for the playoffs because I really do enjoy making these videos. So guys, thank you so much for watching for now. Hopefully I'll see you all later, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. Please go check out the rest of the analyst videos. We do work really hard to get these out for you all, and I'll see you all hopefully in the future. Cheers, guys.